Hello everybody, it's Carl here from the game store in Lincoln in England, and today we're going to have a look at what's in the box for the Dogs of War from Thin Red Line Games. Not done one of these for a while, so I'm a little bit rusty. I've had a few health problems, but got this week and was quite excited by it, so I thought I'd have a look, and it does look very interesting. Okay, box is quite interesting. Now, the idea of the Dogs of War, it is the BAOR sector, and it's set in 1985. It's part of the C3 series, and this is module number 2, the first one being less than 60 miles. The BAOR is the British Army of the Rhine, so this is the British section. It's got West Germans, and it's got Belgians as well, and of course it's got Soviets and the other Eastern Europeans. So it's NATO versus Warsaw Pact mid-80s. They do another series called 1985. That's at a higher scale, so that's more strategic. But this is sort of semi-tactical. It's sort of grand tactical almost series. Lots of interesting concepts in here. If you used to like NATO Division Commander and Central Front, the old SPI games, this game is a sort of modern interpretation of those. So let's have a look what's in the box. Okay, first of all, it's a shiny box. I'm not really keen on shiny boxes, but yeah, it looks okay. We've got some cards. The first thing you're going to notice is we've got these cards. Okay, so there are action cards, there are NATO ones, and there are Warsaw Pact ones. You can be allocated these at the start of the game, and they have an effect. So this one you play during the NATO movement phase. NATO can transport UK 6th Armoured Air Mobile Brigade from a friendly controlled airfield to any hex in a 20-mile hex range. So you can see it's going to have an effect on the game. A couple of dice, D10s, some bags, and at the top we've got the charts and tables. Now there are 2 copies of these charts and tables in here. They're done, as you can see, in colour. The outside at least is done in colour, and the inside is done in colour as well. Now, there are quite a lot of charts and tables. You've got movement table. You've got a postures chart. I'll talk to you about postures in a minute. There you've got your orders chart, bombardment, interdiction, disengagement, ground combat, obviously. Electronic warfare. That tells you what the information on the counters is, which is pretty useful information. And to be honest, I'm surprised it's not on the back of this. Then you've got your postures flowchart. All the units that are in this game are always in one of 16 possible postures. And the postures are things like defence, active defence, rigid defence, assault, road, refit, okay? Shoot and scoot if you're artillery. And each one of those postures has an effect on your combat ability, it has an effect on your movement ability, and it also has an effect on what you can do when you want to move from one posture to another. So if you're in rigid defence and you suddenly want to go to tactical, it's going to take you longer, and the order system is what brings that in. The charts look really nice, apart from, I don't know if you can see, that there is a background map, and although it is faint under the numbers on the charts, it really doesn't work. This bit is fine. This bit should not have any background at all. It should have a clear background. I'm hoping that somebody is going to redo these without the background. Also, I mean, there's a front and rear cover on the charts, which is fine, but most charts, you're going to be looking through them all the time. Wouldn't it make more sense to have the most important charts on the front and back? And now we've got operational procedures. This is really useful, and to be honest, probably read this before anything else, or have a skim through the rules and read this. This is your examples of play. There are some new concepts in here. Things like postures are fairly new, orders are pretty new, and it just tells you in here how to do it. And it really is a brilliant little book, and to be honest, it's, that's the thing that you're probably going to read before you actually read the rules all the way through, to give you an idea of what the game is about. Scenarios and designer's notes. Now, I'm not sure how many pages are here. 36 pages with the look of it. There's a lot of information here, several scenarios. It's a one map game, so it's not a massive game, but it is, it has got a lot of information. The system is relatively complex, so luckily it's only one map game, because if it was multi-map, I think it would be quite a long game. And you've got individual scenarios, and you've got campaigns as well. obviously setups for all the units, how many command points they start with, you know, any special rules, and at the back you've got designer's notes telling you about, you know, what the armies were like at that time, and you've also got developers notes as well. It's quite nice to see a game where developers notes, because a lot of games you buy don't seem to have been developed very well, but here you can see, you know, they've actually got somebody professional in to do it. Of course, now we've got the rules. So the rules are 28 pages, I believe. It sounds like a lot. It's not. I think there's a few optionals, but there are a lot of rules that I think most of us will find okay. Combat is part of movement. The game scale is 5 kilometers and each turn is 3 hours. So, you know, in an entire turn in 3 hours, there is a lot of turns going to happen, obviously, in a day, whereas there are other series, I think they're 2-day turns. So you can see the difference in scale there. A lot of this game is about reacting to your opponent, being able to change your orders, being in the right posture at the right time, not getting caught with your pants down, you might say. The sequence of play looks quite long, but really it's not nearly as bad as you might think. A lot of that stuff is, you know, engineering phase, prepare river crossing, build defensive works, mine bridges. A lot of that stuff, for one thing, might not happen every turn, and also when it does happen, they're fairly fast actions. Okay, this is about postures. Okay, postures, posture changes, and transitioning to a new posture. They're not really that much. There's only about a page and a half of rules about it, but it is absolutely core to the game, and so it's important to know how that works. And one of the great things is you get the operational procedures book, and that really helps you learn that a lot more quickly. You know, sometimes when you've got new rules in a game, you look at them and you're like, oh, I don't really understand, but the examples are really useful for that. So you've got movement, obviously, things about river crossing, specific rules for the Warsaw Pact. Then you've got headquarters. There's a lot of headquarters in this game, and there's quite a rigid headquarters discipline included in it, in that you have to be looking at your high-level headquarters. Your high-level headquarters will be sending orders down to you. You've got to keep within range of them to get the most out of it. Command points. Command points are basically how good your headquarters is at doing stuff. Okay. Obviously, it's a 1985 game. We all think at that point, and we're pretty sure that NATO were a lot more efficient than the Warsaw Pact. So NATO tend to find it easier to do stuff. But you spend these command points when you want to change orders. Okay? And that's the next section we get onto. Orders, talking about formations, issuing an order, revealing an order. You put your orders on the track, because your orders might not come in for 3 turns. So, you know, if you're a Warsaw Pact army and you're trying to get your entire army on the move, it might be 9 hours before they get going. And those orders, your opponent won't see them because they're hidden, they're face down on the track, so they won't necessarily know what your orders were. The execution of the orders, then you've got combat. Combat is differential based, affected by lots of things. I mean, to be honest, your actual combat rating is not the most important thing. The modifiers are probably more important than the actual combat rating. Artillery, obviously, artillery is important. Helicopters are important. Talking about bombardment, anti-aircraft fire, detection, signal intelligence, electronic warfare. There's an optional rule for intelligence, so a little bit more detail there. Then you've got nuclear warfare. I was, around. I was a child of the 60s, and I remember the 80s, and there was a lot of worry about, were we going to end up having a nuclear war in Europe? Thank goodness that never came to be. Bridges, reinforcements, engineering works, things like that. So the text is reasonably large. It's easy to read. It's in 2 columns. I don't think anybody who's an experienced war gamer will have any difficulty with that. Another set of the charts and tables. Here we've got some of the one of the orders of battle. So this is the Northern Front Soviet Warsaw Pact order of battle, and the order of battle for NATO. So the British, West Germans, Belgians, another West German army there. Okay. Another couple of tables here. We've got the time track. So there's the NATO time track. So when things happen, you put them a certain distance time ahead. You've got how many command points you've got, engineering points, electronic warfare and air points, and obviously the same for the Warsaw Pact. And then you've got your ground combat track. Now the thing about this is you actually track that up and down because there are lots of things that can affect the ground combat differential. So you need to make sure that you don't forget anything, because you don't really want to go back to the beginning and have to count each time. So you've got a nice little chart there, and it's also got a lot of the combat modifiers on it. You know, it tells you what you need to do if you want to look at that combat modifier. Okay, now we get onto the counters. There are 7 counter sheets, which sounds a lot, but they're quite big, chunky counters, easily readable. So you've got British here in the sort of dark tan, sort of brown colour. West Germans. There's not that many numbers on there. You've got attack, defence, and you've got your cadre level, which is your basically how good you are. So the elites are higher numbers. The Belgians tend to be quite low. More here. Then you've got your headquarters for when you're tracking your order placements. Okay, Soviets. So you can see there's actually not that many combat counters on there, because now we've got onto your markers. So here's some of your points markers, so you put on your tracks, defensive works. When you take damage, or when you do stuff that you shouldn't be doing, or that you're trying to do something in a hurry, you get attrition points. Basically, once you start to lose too many attrition points, you'll fall to pieces. So you have to maybe do a refit, and that's what these are. These are refit markers, and they tell you on there what your movement mode is, the effect on combat, anything else that matters to you, you know. And then finally, you've got the time markers. So if you've got something that's going to be 6 hours ahead, you put one of those under. Finally, we've got the map. The map is quite nice. It's functional rather than gorgeous. I mean, I quite like it, but there's a couple of things I don't like about it. One is it's slightly plasticized, which I think is okay because it's matte, so it's not too bad. At least it's not a shiny map. The other thing is they've used dark text on the towns and cities, and the cities are dark grey, so they've got dark text on a dark grey background, which makes it difficult to read. Up here you've got Hanover, Winterberg down there, Kassel, Braunschweig, places like that, and obviously you've got East Germany over here. If you can see that, yeah, the yellow border there shows the thing. Now the game is part of a series, and in the series the intention is that there will be 5 separate games. Less than 60 miles sits down here, so that's lower down, and I think there's 1 more on top and then 2 more below less than 60 miles. It's going to be quite a big game, obviously a 5-mapper if they do the entire thing, but the system definitely looks interesting. A friend of mine's already got his and punched his. Obviously with everything going on in the world at the moment, who knows when we're going to be able to get together and play it. But actually I'm excited enough to think, you know, I might get this one to the table at some point, and I'll probably have a go at soloing it soon. Okay, this was Carl from Comic Culture and the Game Store in Lincoln in England, having a what's in the box for the Dogs of War by Thin Red Line Games. It's a very popular game. I think it's sold out within hours of going on sale. I bought the previous one, Less Than 60 Miles, and I bought some other stuff as well. I think this is the 4th game they've done. So I was lucky enough to get the heads up when it went on sale, ordered it, and received it very quickly. You know, despite Brexit, we actually managed to ship it out very quickly because it's come from Italy, and I'm pretty excited about having a go. So hope you've enjoyed that. Any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.